everybody, happy Wednesday. And since it's Wednesday, that means that I'm on the website, KatiMorton.com, and if you haven't hopped on and checked it out, you've got to. And I'm also on YouTube, so if you, on yesterday's video, you asked the question below. So if you're on YouTube and that's your primary place of hanging out, next Tuesday, if you have a question below Tuesday's video, you ask your questions, and then I'll read below and I'll find it, and then I might put it in the next video. So, just to give you an idea of how my FAQs work. And today I have 4 questions, 2 from the website and 2 from YouTube, just to make it even, and I have a journal topic. So stay tuned at the end for that. Okay, without further ado, because I don't want this to be too long, because I tend to blab a lot, is, hi Katie, I've heard people say that forgiving someone doesn't mean that you are saying that what they did was okay. But what are you saying then when you choose to forgive someone? Good question, right? Recently, I found out that someone I really looked up to is a pathological liar, and so I don't actually know her at all. Ugh. I've had a lot of emotions and ups and downs with this, and I'm still working on processing it all. I know there will come a time when I will choose to forgive her, but what can this forgiveness look like? Because what she did is not okay. I do not have any contact with her anymore, but I just need closure. Thanks. Now, I picked this question because we deal in our lives a lot with forgiveness or lack of, and both things are hard. Now, to not forgive someone means that we're carrying that anger and that frustration and that hurt around with us all the time, and it can feel like it weighs so much and it's so tiring, oh my God. So, the best choice healthfully for ourselves is to forgive. Now, the question that she's asking is, I know that they say it doesn't mean what they did was okay, but then what are you saying? To be honest, the person that hurt you will never know that you forgive them, unless this is a person that's like, I'm so sorry, oh my gosh, will you please forgive me, and you can say, you know, I need some time, but I will forgive you in time. But really, it's none of their business. Forgiveness is your choice. It's something you do, honestly, to help yourself. So by forgiving someone, you're actually not saying anything to them at all. You're saying to yourself, this happened, I felt bad, but I have to move on, and it will be okay. I mean, in my life, like everybody, I've had things happen to me and people who are really hurtful, and the best mantra that I can tell myself is, it's for me that I'm forgiving because I have to move on. Does that make sense? Because oftentimes we're stuck. It's actually ourselves that we're hurting by holding on to it. And so I would encourage you to find a mantra. If any of you have something that you've told yourself or a phrase that a therapist has said that you thought was like so insightful, if you can leave that below, that'd be really helpful. But I personally, for myself, will tell myself when I think someone's a total asshole and I don't trust them, like you said, they're not in your life anymore. And it's almost like a toxic friend, but you have to forgive them to move on. I tell myself, you know, that was terrible what they did, and they're obviously not a person that I want in my life, but I have to let this go so that I can be okay, so that I can move on. So I would just keep telling yourself to this. I'm forgiving to help myself move on, to get better myself, and make it about you and your own process. Because like you said, it's going to take time, but trust me, it's worth it. And you'll feel such a relief and such that weight lifted off your shoulders once you're able to forgive them. Question number 2. How do you think gay people are made? Are we born this way? Does something happen when we're little? Do we choose to be this way? Or is it a combination of everything? Now, I know I'm going to be in hot water for even bringing up this topic, but that's part of the reason why I brought it up, because I think it's important that we keep talking about this stuff. And everyone's going to have a different belief. I know just off the top of my head that if I say, oh, we're born this way, then potentially Christianity-based religious people might be like, that's wrong. And if I said something happens to us, and then we choose to become, then people who believe the other are going to be like, you're so judgmental and blah, blah, blah. And honestly, I have quite a few friends in my life, close friends, who are gay. And I've done videos with one of my best friends who is a lesbian. And it's a combination. I've had clients who will tell me that because they've been sexually abused in their life, they find men repulsive, and so they're attracted to women. I've had clients tell me that they always knew, even when they were like 8 years old, they'd look at a woman or a man and they'd think, ooh, or yeah, whatever, depending on if they're a guy or a girl, they knew right away they were attracted to the same sex, even in grade school when they're little, or as far back as they can remember. So I think everyone is different. There's never just a perfect, oh, okay, it fits for everybody, because it never does. And everyone's experience is different. So if this is something that you are wondering about, or you're worried about, or you don't know if you want to come out, or whatever you're experiencing, I have a bunch of videos on that. So I would encourage you to search those on my channel. Like I said, I sat down with one of my friends and she talked about how she knew the coming out process and kind of where we go from there. So hopefully you find some help and, understanding through those videos. Question number 3. My counselor mentioned taking a break from counseling because I'm not making any progress. Why would she mention that? And is it bad if I'm not making any progress? We do that a lot. I know that sounds terrible, but as a therapist, if you're not making progress, then that means that together we're just not getting anywhere. We're kind of stuck. And oftentimes we'll take a break, not only for us to try to think of new interventions and things to talk with you about, but also to give you a break so that maybe you can come to realize something on your own. Because therapy is a process and healing takes time. And sometimes even now, after I'm working with a different therapist than I was when my dad passed away, things that she said years ago will pop in my head and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was genius. And then I'll try to work on what I understand now she was trying to do. And that's years later. So that is oftentimes why we do that. So I would encourage you during this time that you're taking it off, that you work on yourself. Think about it. Take some time to meditate about what's going on in your life and what you're working on and what you were working on in therapy and why you think you might be stuck. But no, it's not bad. It's just another kind of therapeutic intervention to get us to work past it. Okay? Question number 4. Hi, Katie. I'm almost positive I have an eating disorder and I really need help and I want to tell my parents, but I've had conversations with my parents about eating disorders just to see how they would read or how they would react. That's a good idea. And they describe eating disorders as a first world problem and selfish girls seeking attention. I was wondering if you have any suggestions about talking to them and helping them realize that this is actually a real problem. Many thanks. The best analogy I've come up with to date, and if you have other ones, like always, share below and, say for question number 4, blah, blah. But the best analogy I have is to compare it to either having cancer or having an addiction, because I feel that it's important for people who don't understand what eating disorders are to see it in a realm where they do. So you can say something like, someone who has alcoholism or drug abuse, would you say that's a first world problem and that only selfish people have that issue? It depends on what you know about your parents and how you think they'll respond. But that's one that I find to be really effective, especially for families who maybe have a family relative of some sort who struggle with it and they got help and all that stuff. So I would bring it up and I would say, would you say that about that? Or would you just say that they're sick and they have a disease? And same with like cancer or breaking a leg. Would you tell someone just to keep walking on it and to just deal with it because it's not a real problem, it's a first world problem? Would you say that, or would you go take them to the hospital and get them help? You probably take them to the hospital and get help. Now, just because this resides in our brain and not a broken bone doesn't make it any less severe, or any less serious, or any less worthy of help. And that's the best I've come up with yet. So I hope that helps you communicate to them. I know it's really difficult, and I have lots of videos about how to talk to your parents. So pairing that with what I've said before in my other videos about the things you need to make sure you tell them, like what's happening and what you need from them and stuff like that, I think that will give you the best possible outcome. So hang in there. I know it's hard, but I promise, it's never as bad as we anticipate, okay? Now, our journal topic today is a quote, like always, because I love quotes and I'm addicted to them. And I go to Brainy Quote all the time. So the quote is, "Courage is simply the willingness to be afraid and act anyways." And so I want you to think today about what is something in your life that you're afraid of. Like, are you afraid of reaching out to join that choir? Or are you afraid of talking to that one friend to rekindle a friendship? Are you afraid of taking that leap and applying for a job? What is it you're afraid of? And then what can we do to act anyways? Because we are stronger than we ever can imagine. I hope that helps. I love you all. I'll see you tomorrow when I'm on Twitter. So ask your questions using the hashtag KatieFAQ. Bye!